The very last part of this so-called condensed version of the Yoga Vasishta, the Laghu Yoga Vasishta, is devoted to the 7 states of yoga. And these have been encountered a few times already. But I think this very last exposition of the 7 states of yoga is perhaps the clearest. The 7 states of yoga are basically a summary of spiritual practice or enlightenment practice. Rama asked, "How does one ascend the 7 states of yoga?" Vasishta replied, "There are 2 classes of human beings, the outgoing and the renunciate. The former thinks, 'What is this Nirvana? I prefer to live and enjoy in this world.' That's the condition of most people. They might have heard of Nirvana, but for some reason they are not pursuing it. They might regard it as some religious frippery, some religious nonsense. They might even regard it as something too difficult for them. This seems to be the assumption of many Buddhists these days, that it's not even possible to attain nirvana these days. So what are your options? You just get on with your life and you make the most of it. After many lifetimes, one is spiritually awakened. And notice there's no reason for this. It just happens at some point. It might happen in this lifetime, or it might happen in another lifetime. But at some point, something clicks. Then he begins to think, enough of life in this samsara, which is devoid of any essence. All actions are useless. I should now withdraw from them. In other words, you began to think, you began to feel, what's the point? There must be more to all this. You realize that life is rather pointless the way most people live it. It's just a routine which we get on with until we're hit by some ghastly disaster, illness or death. And this is when you start to develop dispassion. He is known as the renunciate. Then he asks himself, what should I do in order to cultivate dispassion and cross this mire of samsara? So this isn't quite the spiritual seeker. The spiritual seeker is somebody who's looking but hasn't yet found. You cannot begin spiritual practice until you've actually found awakening. He avoids the snare of his own mental conditioning. So this is becoming aware of your moods. You start realizing your patterns and how you're caught up in them. It's like your addictions. You snap out of them, or at least you can start working with them and disengaging from them. He delights in beneficial actions. This is the best way of dealing with your tendencies. Your tendencies are usually constricting, limiting. Beneficial actions means that you're acting against your own self-interest. You're giving out. In secret, he performs auspicious actions. So you don't get into the trap of building yourself up as some kind of philanthropist. You do what you can, but anonymously. His actions are non-violent and they do not excite others. He refrains from sin and from the pursuit of pleasure. His speech is friendly and appropriate to the occasion. Then he is in the first stage of yoga. He serves holy ones with thought, word and deed. He diligently searches for the scriptures of self-knowledge and studies them. If such a person inquires into the nature of samsara and the means of crossing it, he is established in the state of yoga. This is the Enlightenment Practitioner. The second stage is known as vichara, self-inquiry. One who is in this state engages himself in the study of scriptures, in right conduct, and in the practice of concentration and meditation. So you start working with your attention, you work with your body, your mind. You realize how your mind diverts you. So then you start doing whatever practices which promote equanimity and dispassion. He resorts to the company of learned men. He knows what is good and what is evil, what is right and what is wrong. He resolutely gives up all evil qualities like pride, envy, vanity, desires, delusion, etc. So it's not good and evil in a moral sense here. It's good and evil in the sense of what's limiting and constricting, what is conducive to the habits of the ego. That's what's evil. So things like pride, envy, vanity, desires, delusion, etc., we're not making a moral judgment on them. We see how they contribute to limitation. We see how they contribute to the fueling of our moods rather than the transcendence of these moods. By the study of scriptures and the devout service of the preceptors, he gains a knowledge of the secrets of the scriptures. The scriptures are a secret. They can be understood on many levels, which is necessary for them to actually survive, but very few actually understand them on the deepest level. On their deepest level, they are pointers to our absolute nature. Not describing it, not theorizing about it, not philosophizing about it. The words themselves are meaningless. They are pointers to what is here, right now.